Bonjour à tous YouTube, comment allez-vous? Nous sommes ce soir pour la première conférence, nous sommes le 11 juin, il est actuellement 20 h et nous sommes là pour la première conférence d'aujourd'hui qui est le Tribeca Festival. Ils appellent ça comme ça, moi j'appelle ça le Tribeca Games Festival. Mais voilà, donc on va faire ça aujourd'hui. Après il y a Coach Media, après il y a Hygiène, je sais pas si on va dire pour Hygiène par contre, je connais. Mais voilà. On faisait, oui, je suis allé faire une bonne douche. J'ai oublié de me sécher les joueurs un petit peu. Donc voilà, les gens, les films vont un peu partir en couille ce soir. On est parti. Allez. Ce soir, c'est Coach Media. J'ai oublié de mettre la lumière. J'ai oublié de mettre la lumière depuis tout à l'heure. Désolé. On est parti. D'ailleurs, vous voyez qu'il fait un peu plus jour déjà. Et les portes ouvertes. Let's go. Oh! Qu'est-ce qu'il fout là? Regarde pas tout de suite, c'est la merde. Oh.
They invite you to enter worlds of action, fantasy, terror, and wonder.
Not just a member of the audience, but an active participant.
They are stories that are shaped not only by the visions of their creators,
but by the choices you make as they unfold.
They are changed by you,
just as you were changed by
Il y a
them.
du monde, hein?
This year, for the first time, Tribeca has selected 8 games.
We hope they offer you a brief glimpse into the ingenuity and artistic scope
that games have to offer the world,
and why they belong at the forefront of our conversations about storytelling,
both now and in the future.
We can't wait for you to play them.
Allez, on est parti. Tribeca Games
Horror
Spotlight.
stories are often about seeing our deepest fears and anxieties made real in the form of ghosts, ghouls, and demons. But in the survival horror game Signalis, the true horror lies not in the shambling monsters you find lurking in a subterranean bunker or an alien planet, but in what lies beyond the limits of human comprehension. Revelations so dreadfully that can shatter the mind. This is the cosmic horror of Signalis.
Allez. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Ça a l'air bien space en tout cas. Je kiffe. Ça a l'air vraiment unique. C'est ce que je cherche dans les jeux perso. Et le design, bordel. Et on a vu un truc. C'est le Boeing là, ok. Pas le nom du jeu, c'est bien. Un jeu allemand donc. Ah bien, ça a l'air vraiment cool par contre. Compartiment. Oh, il est où le jeu là? Signalis. Enfin, la feuille du temps.
Kena Bridge of Spirits is a rich, compelling tale of fantasy and adventure with themes of
Oh,
trauma
je
and
retente.
loss of forgiveness. And yes, it's
Très
full
bien.
of fast-paced action and breathless battles with supernatural foes,
Bonne
but the
transition.
first thing that hits you when you see it is the beauty of a debut game from a small but passionate team at Ember Labs. And
Ouais,
how the
ça a
stunning
l'air vraiment cool.
animation of its lush
Ça a
and
l'air
magical
très
world
très
pulls you into a journey
très
of a
space.
spirit guy trying to save a village haunted by restless souls.
Ça a l'air
So why not let
très
you see
très
it for yourself?
unique
Here's our next official
et
selection,
original.
Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Ah, let's go. Oh, trailer Sunjay.
Ground yourself. Feel the energy of the mountain. Draw on its power.
Ah, la cinématique elle est super. Et ben j'ai très hâte d'y jouer vraiment. On se fera sûrement en stream.
It's a really small studio. We have a background in film and animation. We got our start
Très
doing visual
cool.
effects for films.
Très très cool. Oh.
And then from there we moved to doing a lot of animated work for commercials. In between commercial projects, we would always siphon off some time to learn new things and be a little creative.
What?
And over time, we decided that wow, we have a real passion for games, and we wanted to throw our hat into the ring with our first project, Kena.
Oh. Les mecs qui faisaient des cinématiques avant. Ah, l'émission elle est tellement bonne, mec. Je m'étonne qu'il fait des bonnes cinématiques.
Hello, Spirit. I seek passage to the sacred mountain shrine.
We've been playing games our whole lives together as brothers, and the
c'est le
action
frère.
adventure games are sort of what we play together and we also enjoy. Yeah.
Oh là là, ça a l'air tellement bien, Kena. Je veux sa marque.
We kind of had this idea of the rot being a kind of a force of nature that was maybe working against you. It was kind of the enemy initially, and then I kind of had the thought to flip it, where the rot become your companions.
Pourquoi est-ce que dès que je stream, je baille? C'est un tic que j'ai, je crois. Hein. Pas possible. Hier, pareil, je me suis endormi à 4h du mat. La conférence, elle était à 20h. J'étais en train de bailler. Aucune musique. Aucune musique.
Opened up a lot of cool mechanics, especially with the puzzles in the game.
Ça a l'air bien. Ça a l'air bien. Pourquoi j'ai envie de jouer maintenant là? J'ai envie de jouer maintenant, les mecs. Donnez-moi le jeu, s'il vous plaît.
With film, you can just put the camera where you want it. You can tell. You have complete control over what they're seeing, when they're seeing it, how they're seeing it. And in games, all that goes out the window. So communicating ideas or themes to the player is a lot more difficult, we found.
Yeah.
You have to be really sort of crafty in how you're getting communication to the player, especially when it's trying to do it through gameplay and not just like always through cutscene.
One of Tara's memories. I should see where it leads me.
Oh. Oh, mais le jeu, il a l'air smooth.
We love creating immersive experiences and we try to really think about atmosphere and tone a lot.
Vraiment, l'animation, elle est trop smooth. L'animation est beaucoup trop smooth, vraiment. Wow.
Storytelling and atmosphere is a big part of our traditional medium in terms of film aesthetics. Just having the world be something that you want to sit down and explore and be a part of was a goal of ours from the beginning. Having a nice team of really great animators who have worked together, I think was paramount in terms of pulling off some of the storytelling we wanted to do with the game.
Oh, what? L'anime, elle est incroyable. Et vu que c'est eux qui font la cinématique et le jeu.
We're actually making like a 45-minute animated movie inside of a game.
Hi.
La 45 minutes de cinématique.
A lot of them come from the visual effects and animation background and kind of like converted their skill sets from the film and animation background into developers.
Ah, c'est trop bien. Il y a vraiment un mini-film à l'intérieur du jeu, quoi. Et vu que tu seras complètement immersé dans le monde, bah, tu verras pas trop. Alors, ça ira très bien, quoi. Ouais.
During the process of making the
La
game,
musique.
we also were introduced to a musical group called Sudamani. And we actually, Jason and myself went over to Bali to do recording for the soundtrack.
One of the things that's grown out of that relationship is Dewa is the composer, but his daughter Ayu is actually the voice of Kana.
My name's Kana.
Oh.
What are you two doing out here?
She's never done any voice acting, but she fit right in.
It's okay. You have
J'avoue.
to go now.
La meuf, c'est la première fois qu'elle fait du voice acting, la vie de ta race.
We wanted to make a game that would just.
Et ce jeu a l'air incroyable. Les équipes ont l'air beaucoup trop talentueuses. Soutenez ce putain de studio. J'achète Day One 60 balles, les mecs. Go.
It's also very rewarding because it's like something that we would very proud of, something that we would want to pick up ourselves.
You must move on.
Ça, c'est le genre de jeu, tu vois, je suis content de payer 40 balles pour. Ah, pour un putain de Mass Effect. Oh là là. Je crois que le jeu il est au moins à 30-40 balles, tu vois. Comme ça, pour un peu aider le studio parce que. Oh, ils sont tellement dans le jeu, sérieux. Non, c'est ouf, hein. Kena Bridge of Spirit. PS5, PS4. Heureusement que j'ai une PS4. On sait jamais. Salut Norman Redus. Qu'est-ce que tu fous là, toi aussi? Toi, ne pas savoir cadrer, peut-être. Mec, il est comme ça, s'il te plaît. C'est plaît, attends, il est comme ça. Ouais, les mecs. Ouais, ça va ou quoi? Ouais, salut, hein. Normal, tu sais. C'est mort.
It's a place where people, memories, and secrets have a way of getting lost and buried. Dig them up if you dare in the haunting and extraordinary adventure that is Norco.
Au lieu de devoir bailler pendant la conférence, hein. Ça va pas le faire ça. Ça va vraiment pas le faire. Oh, what? Bon, alors, le pixel art, il faudrait que ce soit vraiment du pixel art. Faudrait pas juste que ce soit un truc parce que t'as pas de budget, quoi. Pas parce que t'as pas de budget que t'es obligé de faire un truc en pixel art, hein. Ça, je le vois souvent, ça. C'est faux. Ça, c'est ta vidéo, par contre. Vous foutez pas mieux que le game. C'est les parents t'as fait.
Our first release is a game called Norco, which is about my hometown of Norco, Louisiana. A small, very industrialized town about 25 miles upriver from New Orleans.
Ok.
There's so many intersecting pieces of infrastructure.
Je vais le boire après parce que là, ça va pas le faire. Vraiment, faut me réveiller un peu parce que là.
In the landscape. I've been fascinated with that region since I was a kid. I wanted to synthesize all of those research interests into something, and Norco is that culmination.
Mais là on voit rien, oh.
It draws from both reality and certain sci-fi tropes. To explore little air pockets of the surreal within the reality of the game.
The primary benefit that we have working in this sort of adventure game point-and-click genre is that we've got just decades and decades of iteration to build on within this genre, going back to the old Lucas games, you know, Monkey Island and such. What works for our story? What are the necessary mechanics to tell the story of Norco?
I was interrogating a lot of events and experiences from the past. I was playing a lot of 2D pixel art games at the time. A lot of traumatic events had occurred both in my personal life and the life of the region that I was exploring, and I thought there was a kind of hauntological element to using pixel art.
On ne refait plus jamais ça. Une vidéo en 40p, le mec.
I don't have any artistic experience, and so doing a simple 2D pixel art game fit the best within my limited resources that I had.
Après, le jeu a l'air d'avoir quand même pas mal de contenu, donc le pixel art peut être.
Big and small studios have really been pushing like what it means for player agency to take a front seat in a semi-linear narrative.
It has been an interesting journey, pushing the boundaries of the medium and kind of forcing it into this more complex, uncomfortable future.
Norco, ok. Un truc très physiologique du coup.
In the handmade adventure game Harold Halibut, a spaceship full of people fleeing the Cold War crash lands in an alien ocean, where the sunken ship becomes a city that is forever stuck in the 1970s. And when I say handmade adventure game,
gros, il a pas une Xbox Series X, il a le fridge.
Every character, every floorboard, and every coffee cup has been meticulously handcrafted from wood, clay, cloth, and metal.
D'ailleurs, attends, je vais
Bring this gorgeous world to life. I'm pleased to introduce the stop-motion adventure, Harold Halibut.
Hi, we are Slow Brothers, a tiny interdisciplinary game studio based in Cologne, Germany.
Harold!
Ah bah tiens,
Stop daydreaming! And don't forget to fix the light after cleaning up the paint.
Sometimes I do wonder what life would have been like on Earth.
It's been about 10 years since we started game development.
Ok.
Some of us have a film
Je parle 2 secondes.
At that time,
Il y a 2 minutes pile, Aaron Greenberg, la tête, donc le CEO, on va dire, de Xbox Marketing, du côté marketing quoi, le boss de Xbox Marketing, a reconfirmé que oui, les mini frigos Series X arrivent toujours, ils sont toujours en train de le faire. Donc oui, cool. On revient à ça.
Quickly realized that the budgeting thing at least wasn't too different from feature-length films, but we were way too deep into the process already when we realized that. Our goal has always been to create an accurate recreation of a stop-motion film, to create a cinematic feel, and our initial approach was quite a lot of experimentation involved until we found our process that we use now, which is 3D scanning everything by using photogrammetry to create 3D models of the characters that we then animate using motion capturing.
un très bon setup de motion capture. Et ouais, honnêtement, ça a l'air cool.
Which gave us this
Ça prouve, on peut faire ça
fluidity
avec
and
n'importe quoi.
also all the options that we have in modern 3D games to light the scenes in a cinematic way and to use camera movement. So it's even a little bit different than traditional stop motion animation, and we really liked this mix of the digital world and the analog world.
We've heard a bunch of people questioning why we put such effort into building the sets and the tiny details. Ultimately, we think that's why the game feels the way it does is because of the sum of its parts and that level of detail coming together as like a greater thing. We just like put a lot of
Honnêtement, ils ont du beau
effort
setup.
into
Honnêtement, ils ont du bon setup.
Harold's social environment.
Ils ont l'air de bien bosser, ouais. C'est un très bon studio. De toute façon, pratiquement tous les gros. De toute façon, pratiquement tous les studios qu'on va voir ce soir, c'est des très bons studios, c'est des studios indés qui font des trucs par passion.
Sure. Ready for what?
I made a breakthrough discovery at the Arboretum last night. Do you remember the last batch of bloomy rocks?
Oh, the really small ones from the last intake? The ones with the strange shapes and the little holes and...
The blue ones, yes. Turns out their surface composition doesn't just give us clues about our immediate aquatic environs. I think they've picked up some influences from outer space as well.
We create a relatable science fiction world instead of having a super distant sci-fi future where things are so different that it might as well be magic.
It may have started with one man, but it took the hearts and minds of many more to make the dream a reality. That dream began at the height of the Cold War, when the world was on the very brink of annihilation. He conceived of an Ark-like spacefaring ship. After 200 years, we finally arrived at our destination, only to find that the promising, watery planet contained no habitable landmass and dense toxic gases in the atmosphere.
The Cold War seemed like a good starting point for the backstory of our game, and it enabled us to have this kind of weird mix of being stuck in the 70s on one hand and not living through the things we all know in our present, but also thinking into the future, the 200 years after that, and creating this kind of alternative timeline where things evolved in a different way.
It's just that the professor and I need some sea rocks, filter rocks from older times that have come from the filters, and I feel like you might have one?
Okay, look and listen here, Longy Long Pants. I shut the store for a reason, you know?
While we have this overarching storyline in our game with multiple story arcs, Harold is only one part of this bigger story, and we always kind of focus on Harold's personal interactions, relationships and friendships of Harold.
Harold! Good timing. You can explain things to the Major, can't you?
Harold, come here and explain things.
So, Harry, how's life been treating you?
Keeping fishy.
What?
Keeping busy.
Okay.
Harold.
Is everything okay?
And therefore really concentrated on providing a lot of depth in those characters for players to ultimately explore.
Ouais, ça a l'air très très
Won't you
cool.
stay? The jog team won't be the same without you.
Yeah, venga, Harold. You can't leave now, I just got here. Jog team, jog team, jog team.
Go jog team.
Come on, Harold. Keep up.
Deep breaths, Harold. You're doing great.
Guys, have you got any tips?
Just keep on moving, Harold. You never know when you'll have to slow down. So keep going while you can.
Ja, dat is toch goed.
Imagine setting off across a
Ah,
vast
bordel.
desert on a rite of passage, with no one to share the long and lonely trip but your trusty hover bike. On your journey to the horizon, you will traverse a world of beauty and mystery, full of spectacular ruins, both ancient and futuristic. This is the joy of exploration, the thrill of discovery. And if you listen to the stories of the people and places you encounter, perhaps a chance to learn what you came here to understand. This is Sable.
Sable, mesdames et messieurs. Le jeu qui a l'air très original en termes de DA et en termes de... Je fais de la SMR actuellement, j'espère que vous aimez bien. Et deux. Je rigole énormément. De remonter pas le son, baisser le son, je vais remonter ma voix. Ici 3, 2, 1. Du coup, je disais. Ouais. Le jeu a l'air incroyable en termes de technique et en termes d'originalité et en termes de DA. Faut le faire. Faut vraiment le faire. Le jeu est très original.
Sable is the main character.
Vraiment.
She's a young girl who's leaving her home for the first time.
Ça a l'air bien space aussi. Jeu univers.
The gliding is what Sable embarks on as the story starts, and it's something that everybody who comes of age in the world of Sable does. It's how you find out what you want to become in life. Leaving your home behind and experiencing the world, meeting people, trying things, helping folks in need, and ultimately deciding what do I want to devote my life to.
So much of the people here, the communities here, are defined by their vocation. You know, the desert that they live in is inhospitable, and so they've kind of had to come together and had to form groups around resources. And so Sable kind of goes from place to place, meeting different societies and cultures, built around completely different experiences of the same environment.
Ok. Donc pas mal de locations vont être très différentes des unes des autres. C'est vrai que c'est intéressant à explorer forcément. De toute façon c'est un jeu d'exploration donc ça a l'air. Ouais. Par contre, deux fois que c'était quoi ça?
It means that she has to be a sponge, right? She's trying to figure out her place in the world, what she wants to do for the rest of her days. And I think that's what makes the story so fun. It really is about the places that you go, the people that you see, and the experiences that you have that not only shape her gliding, but shape her.
Oula, les ombres qui sont un peu en retard. F l'après alpha.
My dad and Daniel's dad went to architecture school together. You know, our lives have kind of crossed a bit in that period. Your mum taught me.
Vous avez pas le micro, le mec?
Secondary school.
By the time we were at sort of university age, that was when indie games have really kind of taken off as a creative sort of field. I started to think about them as something that I could make myself.
I studied architecture, Daniel studied comparative literature, but neither of us had any experience making games before we started making games. We kind of went to the pub one time and had a chat about how because we had none of these industry direct connections to skills or experience, we thought we'd start our own internship, do our own internship in the shed. The initial thought was just, let's get some experience under our belt and see where we go from there. Somehow, 6 years or so later, we're here now, still going. Yeah.
Alors moi j'écoute hein, depuis tout à l'heure. Je ne m'endors pas, calmez-vous.
The thing that we really try to focus on is exploration, and we kind of geared every design decision that we could around that focus.
Ouais. Là, la technique a l'air cool.
There's no real danger to the player in the
Okay.
game. It is quite relaxing in a way, but that doesn't make it less curious a world to explore.
Ouais, je baille pendant les confs. me saoule. Surtout que je suis intrigué là, putain, je veux voir la suite.
About it is how lonely it is, and the pace of the game is very laid back.
Ah, rigole.
It was the first game that we designed that was really geared around our skills as well, our backgrounds. We wanted to do something narrative focused, get your background in comparative literature, wanted something to architecturally focused, and my background in architecture helped with that. So I think that it's come from us in that way makes it quite unique. We draw from a number of references and influences, I suppose. I guess some of the most obvious ones are the visual ones, right? Stuff like Mobius or Tintin, or Studio Ghibli, and those kind of pieces were always influential.
Yeah, it does have that mix of ancient and futuristic to our eyes, right, who live here, but to the eyes of Sable and to everyone in that world, that is all that they know.
We brought Japanese retros onto the project really early on, like before we'd really started it, and so our music had kind of been there from the very beginning. So that's been the music itself has been a really big part
HyPeRXKo.
shaping the direction of the game.
Waouh. Ah, bien fond, mais c'est de la bonne musique. Depuis tout à l'heure, on se fait un peu chier au niveau de la musique, quoi. Il y avait pas beaucoup de son. Mieux là, avec la musique. Musique toujours aussi
In the
bien.
Gothic fairy tale Lost in Random, the world is divided into 6 shadowy realms, where every citizen's fate is determined by the roll of a cursed die. You play as Even, a young girl who's set out on a quest to save her beloved sister Odd, and with the help of your companion, a magical living die named Dicey, you'll find yourself battling your way through a dark wonderland, and if you want to win the game, you'll have to embrace the chaos and find a way to tip the odds in your favor. From the Odd and Even minds of Zoink Games, here is Lost in Random.
Ah, Lost in Random, ok. Montre-moi ça. C'est intelligente, intéressante. Oh.
So Lost in Random is being developed here at Zoink Games in Gothenburg, Sweden. We're about 80
ils sont en Suisse.
developers with a few different projects,
En Suède.
but Lost in Random is definitely our
C'est ça,
biggest and most ambitious project ever.
C'est la Suède.
We're known for doing quite narrative-driven games. We really want to make games that speak to people and touch people and make people think. Lost in Random is a 3D action-adventure game set in the gorgeous Gothic fairy tale world of Random. And it tells the tale of Even, a young girl who befriends Dicey, a living dice with incredible powers.
Even goes on this journey to rescue her sister from the clutches of a mad queen who's obsessed with board games.
Ça a l'air tellement cool par contre. J'ai vraiment une vibe de Alice au Pays des Merveilles. Pas Alice au Pays des Merveilles. J'ai cette vibe là de ouf.
To show them their place in the world of random, for random is fair, random prevails, and random rules.
Random rules.
Even she's this naive young kid who's just, for the first time, going out into the world to find out who she is.
It's really a story about the randomness of life and conquering the fear of it.
Très cool.
Even and Dicey are a really fun duo. Even is this quick to anger, but she's not one to hold grudges, but she can easily get into a fight, and Dicey's there to hold her back.
Trop marrant.
Dicey, who is this cute puppy kind of character, his moment to shine is when you're in combat. When he even rolls Dicey, he becomes this kind of Swiss army knife of magical power.
Ah ouais, et tu fais comment si jamais il tombe sur rien?
No, Dicey. They should be scared of us, right?
We're really in love with this project. It's a great story.
Oh
it's
non, la
great
voix.
actors, it's the innovative gameplay.
Oh
and
non.
It just feels like everything is just so perfectly packaged together around the dice and this universe.
And the style of the game is kind of like something out of a Leica or Tim Burton movie. It's really everything we've dreamt of doing all these years. It's really great and we can't wait for everybody to play it.
Ça a l'air trop bien. Ça a l'air trop bien, putain.
In the interactive thriller,
What the fuck?
you play as a man
Enfin!
who becomes trapped in a
12
replaying
putain
the
de
same
minutes.
12 minutes of one fateful evening in his apartment over and over again.
Allez.
Each time you're going to have the chance to make new choices, learn what led up to those terrible events, and perhaps even escape them. It's a story that's not just about how choices matter, but about how some stories can only truly be told when they can change, even just a little bit, every single time you retell them. It was a joy to participate in this project and lend my voice to the main character, and I hope you have as much fun playing it as I did making it. I am very proud to introduce a game where the end is only the beginning. 12 minutes.
Il y avait plus d'écran, je peux en voir.
I have a surprise for you.
Il est pas grand. On va sortir secondaire.
You want to guess what it is?
Vous avez pas d'écran?
This is an outfit for a newborn. You bought it this morning.
Sur ma gameplay.
Surprise me.
I'm sorry.
You're pregnant.
You know?
I know because you already gave it to me. This has happened before.
What are you talking about? What's going on?
Someone is coming. He's going to hurt us. He says you killed your father. I need to know what happened.
Why are you doing this? My father died.
Died of a heart attack?
No, I didn't have anything to do with...
Any second now, he's gonna knock on that door. Help me.
This isn't happening. This can't be happening.
Police, open up.
My name is Luis. I am the creator of 12
J'ai
Minutes.
trop hâte. J'ai beaucoup trop hâte. Oh, j'en peux plus, je veux ce jeu.
A lot of film. They always captivated me, and I tried to understand what were they doing, the pacing, the colors, the lighting, the composition, in order to create these emotions in me. What are the tools we have as game designers that allow us to do similar things? I think the biggest challenge is that usually when we think about narrative, we think about a linear progression. And in an interactive game, at least in 12 minutes, that information can come at any moment depending on what you've done.
What's the occasion?
I'll tell you over dessert.
All right, I'm ready to get wowed by this dessert.
Just give me 1 second.
You know, I'm fascinated by the idea of if you knew what's going to happen, what would you do differently? 12 Minutes is an interactive thriller about a man trapped in a time loop. You come home from work, you're having an evening with your wife, then this cop shows up, he accuses your wife of murder.
Hands behind your back, let's go.
You try to stop him, you get beat up.
Somebody help!
Only to wake up back to the start of the evening. And then you have to use the knowledge of what you know it's going to happen to try to change the outcome and break the loop.
Look, I know this sounds weird, but the day's repeating itself.
What do you mean, repeating itself?
I'm living the same chunk of time over and over again.
Uh-huh.
The reason the game sticks to a bird's eye view is because it allows you to very easily interact with the environment. Most video games, you have a third-person camera or a first-person camera, and I wanted to create something that is very accessible. So by doing a bird's eye view, you have like a floor plan of the apartment that you just click where to move. There was also the challenge of having the voices convey the emotions without seeing the faces. If someone is really stressed out, you won't have any facial expression, so you have to feel the stress in the throat.
Particularly because you don't see our faces in it, you really are projecting whatever you're feeling onto
Oui,
the
il y a du
character.
grand
There's
monde
no
dans
facial
le...
expressions that it
Il y a du très très grand monde dans le casting. Pour ça que je suis méga hype.
The game will, I think, depend on you as an individual.
I just need some time to myself. Come on, babe, please, stop it.
And if there's enough subtlety in the voice acting, in the movement, your brain will fill the rest. Because actors think in terms of motivations. You know, what's my motivation for this scene? And workshopping with them, figuring those things out, allows the characters to become alive and become meaningful in the way they behave.
Look, I didn't mean to. This is never what I wanted.
No, come on. I warned you.
Look, you can't do this.
It will be different things for different people. There are so many versions of the story that will either reveal something or show something, and you as the player are revealing how you deal with truth, how you deal with other people's truth.
Working in interactive medium, you can make a story that becomes very personal to you, right? You're not passively looking at what's happening and processing. You're actually deciding. By allowing you to participate, to change it, to mold the way it's built, in a way it becomes part of you. It's like you're part of the creative process that is happening. And because the game doesn't really give you a direction, the decisions you make are based on who you are.
I'll prove it. Yeah, great, let's see it. Wow me.
That allows you to explore a side of yourself that maybe you wouldn't otherwise.
Silently repeat these phrases. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from fear. May you know peace and joy.
Ah, il y a Willem Dafoe aussi, j'ai oublié celui-là. Pas la manette. Une date, s'il vous plaît. Putain, fais chier. Putain, fais chier. Putain, fais chier, on n'a pas de date. Trop hâte pour ta minute, mais il n'y a pas encore de date, je la sens, je le sens mal cette histoire. Ça devait déjà sortir en 2020, ça a été repris en 2021, on n'a toujours pas de date alors qu'il y a eu une présentation. Peut-être qu'on aura une date pendant le Xbox Event, je sais pas.
Run away from Bandcamp, head to the mall, and become a con artist. I mean, that's just common sense.
What?
From the decade that gave us the World Wide Web and so much plaid, I give you the big con.
Ok. Coup de dessin à la main, c'est pas mal, c'est marrant. C'est mignon. Pas trop près de jeu, mais...
I'm Dave Proctor from Mighty L Studios, and I am the game director and writer on the Big Con. Mighty L is a company from Toronto. We're made up of some really awesome devs from this city. George Degenkamp, Saffron Aurora, Tabby Rose, Karina Diaz, and Yash Kulkarni is our core team. The Big Con is an adventure game where you hustle your way across 90s America as a teenage con artist. But it's all for a good cause. You are trying to save your mom's video store. So you learn to pickpocket, wear disguises, talk your way into and out of trouble. All for that good, not so good cause of making sure your family business stays afloat. You know, one of the toughest things about making this game was selling people on the non-violent crime aspect of it. Games with guns don't bat an eye, but you know, the moment you have to steal an old lady's wallet, people start to think maybe there's something wrong with you, which is fine. That's part of the fun of making this. It really helps us make something that, you know, challenges people and challenges ourselves, and hopefully helps us find a little bit of in between in a story like this. Ultimately, Allie's doing crimes for a good cause, and you know, writing a funny and heartfelt story kind of helps justify those actions. So, you know, on the one hand, we get to make a game that we've never seen before, which is a con artist video game, and on the other hand, we get to kind of couch that in a conversation about small businesses surviving, and you know, a story about a mother and a daughter. And between that and the 90s, it really informed like what we were capable of coming up with in terms of this relationship. Like, who is Linda, Allie's mom, who raised her as a single mom and kept a business together and is tough as hell, and what is that person like, and what is her daughter like? How do they play off against each other? Allie can be, you know, she can be a teenager, she can be rough, she can be sarcastic. And this is something that we really wanted to see, and I think it brings a lot of truth to the game.
La grosse question. Ah.
If it makes us laugh, it goes in the game. That was our rule. Like, we really want you to explore and find stuff. Random conversations with people that, you know, some people might see, some people might not. It makes us happy knowing that it's in there. And it, I think, really builds on the feeling of like building your own adventure. The 90s are just not, they're not as done in video games, so we wanted to do it. We wanted to get in there. The 90s are a time when you don't have cell phones, you don't have the internet, you don't have the ability to look this stuff up if you need to. And it makes it a little bit more believable that you can be a traveling con artist, which I think is part of the charm. And so, you know, with the 90s means that we also get to do this ripping, colorful palette that Saffron put together.
I watched a lot of cartoons growing up. Hey Arnold, Doug, and The Simpsons. They sort of set the foundation for this cartoon 90s aesthetic. Bright, contrasting colors, exaggerated features, and like fun geometric patterns. So Allie is a very does what she wants character. She wears her cap backwards. That to me was always the signature look of the cool leader type character that you'd see in a lot of cartoons. You know, she has the ripped jeans, the baggy t-shirt, and she also wears her plaid shirt wrapped around her waist, which is, you know, a very, I think, 90s style.
The references from Burblos to music or grunge or you know, what movies were popular.
Donc c'est dispo sur PC déjà, on l'a vu. On a vu la touche E.
We don't want to beat you over the head with nostalgia, but we want to bring you there. We want you to be on this journey with us.
The Big Con is the 90s crime adventure you've been waiting for. What do you think, Rad Ghost? Okay.
I just want to finish off by saying thank you so much
Incroyable.
for the opportunity to be a part of this.
Attends, mais cette pub contre la drogue, elle est trop marrante.
Such incredible games, and really just incredible international talent. It means a lot to a pretty stoked team from Toronto. So we hope to see you there, and we may try to steal the award anyways.
Ah, il y a des démos de toutes les sélections. Je vais essayer de te le mute tout de suite. Et voilà, c'est fini, mesdames et messieurs. On se retrouve dans 5 minutes pour le stream, sur le stream en tout cas, pour la conférence Koch Media. Et pour YouTube, on se retrouve dans pas longtemps du coup, forcément. Voici tout le monde qui a bossé sur cette petite... voilà, tous les devs, tous les trucs, tout le monde qui ont bossé sur ce petit event. Très cool. Très cool. Ça valait le coup. Ça valait vraiment le coup. Allez, merci à tous. À bientôt.